Hello? Hold up one hand like this. Bring your thumb and your forefinger really close together, but not quite touching. Closer. This is how much authority I have. I am 17 years old. This means that pretty much across the board, I am a dweeb. Dweeb, noun, slang, according to the Free Dictionary, a socially inept or foolish person. If you'll excuse the sweeping generalization that I'm about to make, 17-year-olds are exclusively dweebs. We are the almost adults. We have enough power to stand up on a big empty stage, but not enough power to actually have any wisdom worth imparting. Why is it that when we see an adolescent masquerading as an adult, our brains send out all kinds of red flags? Like, if I saw myself on the internet, I wouldn't consider me a credible source. It might be an evolutionary thing, a natural instinct to avoid youth and their subsequent inexperience. Or it might be because you remember being a juvenile and you remember the way you were back then. For most of you, the age of 17 is in the past. You have matured and changed a lot since then, and you have become a different person. You might not even consider you and teenage you to be the same person. One of my favorite authors is Sandra Cisneros. She wrote this short story called 11. She said, when you're 11, you're also 10 and 9 and 8 and 7 and 6 and 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1, like the layers of an onion or a Russian nesting doll, insert metaphor here. But I like that so much because it feels true. I'm asked how old I am. I hesitate before I answer because in my head I'm still like 12 and I have to catch myself and think about it. And if that happens to me, I can't imagine what happens to you. My point being is that somewhere in there, one of those layers, you're 17 years old. You remember what it's like. I get to talk to you for 10 minutes. For 10 minutes, I want to bring that layer to the surface and compare it to the layer that's at your surface today. Layer number 17 used to be your entire person. It's where I'm at right now. Being a teenager definitely has changed over the past few generations, but it stayed the same in basically all the ways that count. As a rising senior, my life is currently punctuated by preparatory seminars and auditoriums like these. Every day it's a new pamphlet or a new guidebook or uninvited set of advice. Because look, on the horizon, it's a bird, it's a plane. It's college, and it's threatening to encompass my everyday existence. Maybe when you were this age, college prep stress didn't manifest in the form of endless emails that know your name, saying, we want you, we're watching you, bracket name bracket, but I'm sure that you experienced it anyway. All of us, for everybody, choosing a college and choosing a major is universally difficult. It was hard for me and for you and for virtually everyone. We know this. We want it that way. Consider 17-year-old you again. They were probably taller than me. Do you reminisce about this age, or are you glad that it's buried very deep in the past? Do you associate this age with good friends, and homecoming, and the joys of youth, or is it what you think about when you can't sleep at night, and you're staring at the ceiling, remembering that one thing you did all those years ago? Chances are, it's going to be a little bit of both. So why is this age so marketable in the media? It's everywhere. 16 going on 17, edge of 17, dancing queen. People miss being 17. It's something romantic and nostalgic. It might be because of, maybe that's just the epitome age, right? Maybe that's just the thing that people think about if you think about like what is going to be for that, but people really like to tell high schoolers that high school is the best 4 years of your life. But you already know that none of us buy that. High school is full of uncertainty and confusion. It's a mishmash of anxiety and hoping for the best, and it's supposed to be that way. I can almost guarantee you that every high schooler in this audience, we aren't exactly thrilled to be the age that we are right now. We would much rather be a little bit older or a little bit younger, really anywhere but this middle ground. We want our current situation to either be so far in the future that we don't have to worry about it, or so far in the past that we don't have to worry about it. But we're here, sad trombone. Maybe this kind of feeling applies to more things than just college, but the bottom line is that right now, all of us feel all kinds of weird. So what's with that nostalgia that I talked about before? Why do people miss this age enough to write songs and movies about it? It might be this bubble. The bubble that we're currently in, before we make any huge decisions and before anything really gets set in stone, is, if you think about it, it's not a bad place to be. Ignoring all the technicalities, all our options are still open. The choice that we're going to make in the next few months or the next few years is going to cement ourselves into a certain future. It's going to, maybe it won't cement us into a certain career or a certain college. That stuff can change. But a certain future. We'll be choosing a timeline. Maybe that's what people are nostalgic for. 17, living with your parents, getting a driver's license hot off the presses, feeling unified with your peers in your confusion, landing your first job, being told you have potential. At 17, at this age, we start making choices that impact nobody but ourselves. For the first time, the choices that we make, we're driving on our own, we're steering our own lives, and the choices that we make aren't affecting the people around us at all. Maybe a little bit, but generally there's no effect beyond ourselves. The one exception to this is your family, specifically the empty nest you'll soon be leaving behind. But even with them, the effects of your choices are affecting them like less than ever. Is that what people miss? The older you get, the more potential consequences arise with every decision you make. It's not just about you anymore the way it was when you were younger. You suddenly have to take into account a lot of other people, your spouse, your kids, countless others. It's not just about you anymore. You have to take into account everybody. There's still the same uncertainty and insecurity as there was before, but now the stakes are higher. There's a Calvin and Hobbes comic strip where Calvin's parents are talking about how they used to think grown-ups always had everything under control and that they never worried about anything. In the last panel, Calvin's dad says, I don't think I would have been in such a hurry to grow up if I'd known the whole thing was going to be ad-libbed. When all of you left high school, you made decisions, a lot of decisions probably with varying degrees of success. These choices made you who you are, and they're what differentiate you from layer number 17. But still, sometimes you feel like going back and changing something of those. You chose a timeline, and from what I've seen, adults seem to believe that there are some choices you can never undo. Your personalities have been shaped by the experiences you've had, and allegedly you can't do anything about that. Teenagers get away with a lot in terms of identity crises. We get to blame mood swings or hormones. Adults don't have as much leeway in that regard. They're expected, behavior changes and lifestyle and belief changes at that point are considered odd. At that point, your persona isn't supposed to change that much. Well, let's throw that out the window. I don't think that we ever completely outgrow the havoc we all experienced in our youth, when that period that we could change ourselves if we chose to change ourselves. That can stick with us if we let it. Ideally, this would be the part of the talk where I'd say something like, take a look at yourself and make a change, or some equally inspirational Michael Jackson quote. I know it's not that easy. Far too often, people prescribe utterly unhelpful stuff like that, walking up to somebody with depression like, hey, have you tried being happy? Thanks, you cured depression. My sister told me once that she hates it when she's crying and somebody comes up to her and says, hey, why are you crying? Stop crying. She says it's like somebody telling her, hey, why are you on fire? Stop being on fire. So no, I'm not going to tell you you can change something fundamental about yourself just by thinking about it really hard. It's not that simple, and you know that better than anyone. But if you feel uncomfortable or unhappy with yourself for any reason, you shouldn't feel obligated to be locked into it. I want to be the kind of person that I'd like to know. I want to be the person that I wish I knew. I want to change some stuff about myself, and I can still do that. Teenagers redefine themselves all the time. But I don't think that that's something that's exclusive to adolescence by any means. Nostalgia for the teenage years is nostalgia for something that isn't completely lost yet. The power to make choices that can revamp your entire future is a power that adults still have. Sure, there's more variables in the equation now, there's more people that it's going to affect than ever. But that's what all the years in between have been for, to prepare you for all the new circumstances and make the best of them, I guess. The fact remains that you were once like me, and a part of you is still like me, young and confused, and maybe there's some potential in there. But the difference is that you now have all these things that you can build off of, and all these places where you can still go. My 17 is right here on the surface. Your 17 is just beneath a few years. I say that you can change just as much as I can. You can redefine yourself and remake yourself just the way you did when you were 17. Because if that kid can do it then you can do it today. Thank you.